I'm Quent.
I'm Aron. Together, we're Aron Quint.
Yeah,
Oh no, we're Quint Aron.
one one of those two options.
Whichever.
One of them turns up in Google searches.
Hey, we actually have something to talk about today, which is super exciting. We have a
Yes,
guest that we didn't hold hostage.
maybe emotionally hostage.
Maybe a little bit of that. It was some sort of guilt or something because he was willing to hang out with the likes of us. There's got to be a reason. He's a
There,
smart man with talent, so I can't quite figure it out.
he also has a whole ocean in between all of us, so
We might look better far away. I
it's
know I
true.
do. See,
Very.
watch. Stunning. Too close, too close. Stunning.
All right. So today we are talking about the fact that Aaron and I entered the first 4,000 words of troubled waters into a contest where you could pay an extra fee and get feedback from professional writers and all of that good stuff. People who actually know what they're talking about, which is not us at all. So, yeah. So we finally got that feedback and we're going over it. We've kind of let it sit for a little while, and it was a really good critique of our first chapter and a half, and really good insight into things that we don't necessarily see, being the writers of the scenes. And we interpret things, of course, differently because we know exactly what we meant to put on the paper as opposed to what came off the paper. So, with us today is my longtime friend Jason, who is also an aspiring writer, and we kind of all have sat down and kind of gone over things, and this is the discussion that came from it.
Thank you, Jason.
Big shout out. Soon, Jason may have his own AuthorTube channel and his own stuff for everybody to read.
He really should because he's good.
Maybe another fantasy person in the AuthorTube world. Just saying.
Take it away. We were talking about the Colorado Gold Rush Award.
Yes, that we did not get.
Literary awards contest,
Yes.
in which you were a participant.
we we were a participant, and we paid a nominal extra fee to get some personalized feedback from the critique panel.
Which was kind of awesome.
It was kind of awesome. Do you feel the same way, Tiffany?
I do. So, what I can say is historically, I have sent a number of people, like the first chapter or two, and just to see how it was received, and it hasn't been well received.
Can I ask you, when you say people, who do you mean?
Um, People in like writing Discord groups.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I don't know them, like, and I put very little stock into their feedback, especially after I got the feedback and I was like, clearly you don't get this. But they weren't somebody that, like, I was familiar with their work, and a couple of them, I wound up reading stuff that they posted, and then it became very clear, I'm like, they have no idea what they're talking about. Because even as a non-published, still aspiring author, I was still like, even I know that's not good. So it kind of negated a lot of the feedback. But for a long time, like, that's kind of the only feedback that we were really getting is Cruiser's a jerk. And some people were like, oh, you don't have enough, like, setting description. So you have that white room syndrome. And that was there was a lot of complaints about Cruiser's personality. So when we saw this contest and we had the opportunity to get some professional feedback, I was really interested in that, because that I could actually put some stock into. And it came back really positive. Like, I was really happy with most of what they had to say, and most of their comments, I could see like what they were saying, or like the meaning behind it. Even if I didn't, there's some stuff that I don't agree with, but I can see where they're coming from with it.
like the first scene is a little bit chaotic, and we could definitely tighten that up and make it a little more easy to follow for someone looking at it. But they got the character, which was huge, and really, other than like you and a few other people, we don't really give a crap, I guess. But I think like we do, but like there's a lot of not that great writers out there. That's not what I'm looking for. I think it is.
There's a lot of
difficult.
unvetted opinions.
I think people really saw Cruiser's personality and just would like unload, but they would totally like the people who had enough vitriol towards Cruiser who would write comments. They weren't writing helpful comments. They were just like, I hate him. He's a dick. We're like, yeah, he is.
That's the
Kind
point.
of the point. Yeah. You know, he's a dick, but he has a character arc, and he has to grow and learn and move along in the character arc because he's not a fucking Mary Sue or Gary Stu where he's perfect all the way through.
Right.
Well,
and that was the point of the book too, is
the critique they gave us.
If by the end of the book you still hated Cruiser and there was no change in your view on him, then we failed doing what we set out to do. And that was never what was brought up. That you're not supposed to really like him at the beginning because he's a jerk.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Right.
But I did like him considerably better at the end.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think I could just flat out say it's been a few years. I think Nora's frozen.
Yeah, she is.
It's been a few years, but I think I flat out liked him at the end.
Yeah.
And those are the most satisfying characters, the ones that, at least that I've read about, the ones I didn't like in the beginning and liked it in the end. Those have been the ones that stuck in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bold step to take right in the opening scene.
Well, and part of my thing with it is chaotic, but it's also a gunfight, which by nature is chaotic.
Yeah,
so
and I disagreed with the comments. I read the comments too, and I disagreed with that comment. It was a gunfight. It was the room was reasonably well explained to me. In fact, I don't care what kind of rug they had. I don't care. I don't care what kind of pictures were on the walls. I just don't care. I got it. It's a reception area.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a gunfight.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, go on.
No, but that's kind of where like there's a balance, and I think it warrants going back and looking at the description and seeing if there are some points to clarify some stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a gunfight, and we're in that lobby for that scene and that scene only.
Yeah.
Maybe make it more clear that Sam, for all of her issues, is very much doing what she's supposed to do, which is locking down Clarence in his lab. Because Cruiser is stuck in this thing like she's an idiot, she's not doing anything right. She absolutely has made the right call, and above and beyond what he could have expected, which I think that, and maybe just taking out a few tags and a few conjunctions and really tightening up the language, it'll really make it pop.
I think they add some tags for clarification.
I don't think we need to like fucking describe the marble, because
no,
it doesn't matter.
No, I do agree that adding some tags for some clarification with everything that's going on to kind of remind the reader who's talking is good. Like,
well, and like Rob said, we don't need to say the names of the three guards. the only one is ever going to come back, and it just confuses things. So just say, Davis and Company, or
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And
But-
I do like the point that Rob made about keeping his guns the same caliber.
God love Rob. He's like, why would he have 2 different caliber guns? Because then he has to carry 2 different types of bullets. And I'm like, because I knew those 2 calibers of guns.
Because variety is the spice of life.
I'm like,
I think it's okay that he has 2 different calibers if it's because he really shoots better with his left hand with this gun and shoots better with his right with this. I would say he'd need a stated reason for it, but
and it really doesn't. It was just,
yeah.
like I said to Rob, they all have backup weapons, at least one backup gun. Usually they have 2 or 3 plus knives, garrots, razor blades, everything, because they've lived life to this extreme edge of danger for so long that they are hyper vigilant by nature. Emery is the only one who has to shoot left-handed and has a very specific gun and caliber because he can't fucking see. She's a really, really, really good shot, but she needs that goddamn gun.
Yeah.
She always has a SIG. Always a SIG. Always the P380 with the laser sight. That's her jam.
You got to write it down so we keep it the same.
It's whatever one I have. Exactly the one I have with the laser sight.
I do think one of the comments, it was here. I have it in front of me. So,
Somebody has notes. Teacher, you forgot homework.
I printed it out.
I printed it out. I bet you highlighted it.
I did not, but only because I don't have highlighters in my office because my kids keep stealing them. Otherwise, I would have.
Oh no! Why are they in your office at all?
That's a whole other.
They are too old for that game.
Whole other topic.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
See, my kids are old enough now; they don't want anything to do with me.
Yeah, there's that. They also don't want anything to do with homework. Comments and suggestions for characterization, and it was, while his military background explains some personality and motivation, there's some information missing about where he is now and why he does this work, if it's what he enjoys and is good at. And that, I think, you need the whole book for. Like, by the end, you should be able to answer that. I don't really think that that's a first scene kind of question that you get into.
I mean, they asked, and it wasn't just that, it was a lot of things they wanted, they wanted in that first page.
Yeah.
And some of the things they wanted was there. I forgot what it was.
There was one that it was like, what it's in here somewhere that I was.
Is like, why is Cruiser there and not the other guy? And you said,
yeah. Cruiser's predicament is intense, but without explanation of what the mission and why he's there. And I'm like, no, that is in there.
He was. Chance and
Fletcher.
Chance and Wolf. Was it Chance and Wolf?
This Chance Fletcher.
Yeah, Chance and Fletcher had already been denied by the woman. By Sam.
I think we could maybe
the woman named Sam, for clarity.
Oh, and she froze again.
Address that just by saying, "Oh, fuck me." Cruiser is there for
most of what you said. Oh, she's gone again.
Gone again. I got fuck me out of that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell her. If you wanted us to understand anything beyond fuck me,
can you see me now?
Yeah.
Look, if you were looking for anything for us to get out of your speech besides fuck me, we didn't get it.
So often the case. I think the only thing we really needed to add there is that Cruiser is there for one reason and one reason only, because he's loyal to the team. And this needs to be done because the team needs it done.
Right.
And I think we can make just a little more insight into the reluctant hero. He's not going to be the type of guy like, yeah, I'm doing this because this is the right thing and it's awesome. He's going to be like, yeah, it's the job. And I do the job because of the team.
And he complains about it. He says, look, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Why can't Chance handle this? This is what he does. I don't ask him to sew up wounds. He doesn't ask me to run a con.
Yeah.
Poor Nora. She was gonna say something awesome.
Oh. It's refreshing that it's not my internet freezing up all the time for once. There you are. But now I can't hear you.
Smarter than all of them.
Okay. What?
Sam wasn't going to let him into that room no matter what, because Sam is smart.
Yeah, Sam's onto all of the shenanigans from the start. This is fun.
You know what I wanted to say about the setting for that scene was that I read these comments more than a month ago, and I've been paying attention as I'm listening to audiobooks about their descriptions of settings, and I think that you guys were clear enough that this is what I'm seeing from other professionals that do it. They don't describe everything in a room. They describe a couple of things so that you can feel like you're there a little bit, but they don't describe everything. And so I think in some ways they want to justify why you didn't win the contest.
Mm-hmm. I do think that we got relatively close to finaling, just because of the time frame that we got our feedback in. You were supposed to get your critique notes in the mid to late August, and then the finalists were supposed to be notified by the second week of September, and we got our critique back the same day as the finalist list was posted. So I think we got really close.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think that we got
positive.
really close. I kind of suspect that perhaps distance, like, because this is they're local, so I would be, and I have noticed that most of the winners historically have been based in Colorado. There's been a few exceptions, so I kind of wonder if that plays a little piece into it. Either way, we were more interested in the feedback than winning the contest. So,
right.
And I have zero complaints about it. Like,
it was absolutely well worth the cost of entry to get the feedback. And they are right. The second chapter is absolutely, the second scene is an info dump.
Which I thought you knew.
No, I thought I had parceled it out with enough action, but looking back, I hadn't.
And we're gone.
Yeah,
I do think the feedback on the info dump and Emery scene was spot on, and the suggestion on taking all of that information out and seeing what the scene looks like without it, and then kind of parsing it back in is a really good tactic to kind of tackle that whole thing out. So, but you got to get the backstory in there somewhere too. And it was, what, 2-3 paragraphs? So I didn't feel like it was an overwhelming info dump, but at the end of it, it still is an info dump.
It looks like we lost her completely.
She may be back.
Oh, all right. Here she is. She's back. All right.
No, you're muted.
My Wi-Fi blew. Sorry.
Nora, I wanted to say that yes, it was an info dump, but it was an info dump that I desired. Tiffany started, well, maybe both of you started with a gunfight, which is great because that's what I want in the beginning. I want something going on. And then, so we go through this gunfight. They're trying to break into a weapons lab. And I don't know why. I don't know who these people are. I guess Cruiser, for all his personality faults, is a benefactor, and the guys trying to kill him were malefactors. And I wanted to make some sense of it after the gunfight, and the respite of that info dump. I held up air quotes. You couldn't see it, but the quote info dump unquote was very welcome to me, and I've seen it in other writings, although those writings were older. I've seen whole chapters. The Lord of the Rings. Two of my favorite chapters, Shadows of the Past and The Council of Elrond. Those two chapters are long. They're like 30 to 60 pages, and they're just giant. Those are massive info dumps. And I absolutely love those chapters. I still remember the names of those chapters, even though I haven't read The Lord of the Rings in decades. I didn't have a problem with it, so I didn't agree with the comment. Although you guys know the action genre much better than I do.
Quinn does better than me, because if it was up to me, the characters would just talk and think forever and never move. But I think there's probably we could take it right up to the point where she starts thinking about her past with Wolf.
I haven't looked at it since,
taken out.
But I was planning on messing with it and seeing what I could do with it, and then sending it over your way and seeing how it worked. Because I do think that we can break it up a little more and make it a little more actiony and not lose the information. Because I'm with you on the fact that we need that information and we need the backstory, because we have no idea who any of these characters are. So, it works and it's needed, so maybe it's just the delivery can be tweaked a bit.
I think pretty much everything from that point where she starts talking about Wolf, that too.
She's gonna make a good point. I could sense it. I'm hanging. I'm waiting to be enlightened. I'm an empty cup waiting to receive the wisdom.
Paragraphs can be taken out.
We lost all of that.
Yeah, I think that from right up to the point where she starts talking about Wolf, we can cut those 2 paragraphs where she's talking about Wolf and that past bit, and that can go in chapter 3 or 4. But the rest of it I do think is needed, because it is a counterpoint to the intense action of the first scene. Is this intense mental chess that she plays with Burke, because you don't know what the fuck Burke's motives are and why they're doing what they're doing and why she even gives a shit. So I think we have to keep some of that information in there, but a little bit of it can come out for sure. But I want to keep that fact that she's good, but she has to be on her toes with him, because he's real good too.
Well, and it also demonstrates like that is an aspect of Emery that is valued to the team, and it's an aspect that nobody else on the team covers, and it's why she is important to the overall functioning that the team has.
And yet she doesn't believe you.
Yeah, well, that's another book's problem.
Mm-hmm. But she really does enjoy the level of, not enjoy, but it is she's very aware she's playing with a master. And not many people are up to her level when it comes to subterfuge and chaos and manipulation.
Yeah.
And Burke is, and goddamn, she doesn't know why or what his end game is. And that really annoys the fuck out of her. That's really what we need to get across there. That, and that she is only in this game for Wolf and the team. If it wasn't for them, she'd have bounced long ago. Am I gone?
No, you're not gone. I was skimming over the rest of the notes, which there's some grammatical errors that they pointed out,
Okay.
which I just don't think, without being a professional editor, we're ever going to get all of the grammatical errors out. Like,
Look, I realize I criminally abuse commas. If there was a jail for comma abuse, I would be in it. Thank you, Jason. I'm a little more aware of how horribly I abuse them, and I try not to, but it's a thing, and I should be in lockdown.
You know, the in-text comments that they had, they fixed some of the grammar stuff, but it was very minimal.
So yeah, some of it I didn't understand. The way they corrected it, it looked weird, and I wasn't sure what you like. Girl Scout.
They capitalized Girl Scout.
But I didn't see where you had. Yeah, I didn't see where you had made it lowercase.
I didn't either, and I don't know what the deal is with that.
That really looked weird, and I didn't understand it. One of the grammar corrections for commas was wrong. Yeah, the others was right. The others were right.
Oh, you're gonna have to point out which one, so we don't fix the
wrong
one.
And that's really the thing. When I go over your manuscript, we really should look at these. We should have a Zoom call for that, and I can explain why this comma was good and why we needed a comma here.
Yeah.
Sure, it involves hocus pocus and magic and casting ruins. I don't.
It's
so
like
clueless.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
Literally, I learned if you think you need to pause there, put a comma. That's the extent of what I learned.
That's what I learned too.
Phonics.
And so every time,
that's not true.
No, and I learned the Oxford comma, which now
Jason's head is gonna explode. Like, that's wrong.
No, I agree with you. I think that if you're speaking and you would normally pause there, why not put a comma?
Yeah.
I mean, who gives a shit anyways?
Apparently they're out there and they want me. I'm like,
but it doesn't work that way, and sometimes it seems counterintuitive. For example, if I'm not even going to go into it. If a dependent clause comes first, you need a comma, but if the dependent clause comes second, you don't need a comma. And I would think it would be the other way around.
Yeah. Are you fading out? She's fading.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, they're starting to talk about that E word.
Mouse is like mouse.
The paradigm of grammatical fundamentals. If we follow the third axiom,
it is well beyond me, not gonna lie.
But some of the other ones, I don't know. Yeah, some of them still got by me too.
Yeah.
And there, so there was like 4 or 5 comma corrections, and 4 of them they were right about. One of them they were wrong.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I think that goes to show you that you're never going to get perfection.
yeah. Yeah,
No,
and
but I'm really tired of editing this.
and as I've been reading around, if everything else is right and you've got a few drop commas,
Yeah.
they're not going to care.
Yeah. No, I think overall what I really took away from this is that the process that we're doing with us going through things and then tossing it back to you and then kind of fixing that, like we're getting a really clean product out of things. So I think it spoke volumes for the fact that like we did as well as we did, and the commentary was overall pretty positive.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So
I got the sense they liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, so did I.
Ironic because Cruiser's unlikable by nature.
Yeah, but it was a good action
Ask the
sequence.
people over in the Discord chat. They really hated him.
It's a gamble to start with Cruiser.
It is.
Let's face it.
Hey, you can only go up from there. The whole freaking point of the book is what do you do with the guy who's fucking Eeyore when faced with the Tigger? Like, the whole damn book came from like, who the fuck would ever get in a relationship with Cruiser? He's just literally Debbie Downer 24/7, and answer is Sammy Sunshine. Just up all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Would an attractive woman with presumably lots of choices would she land on Cruiser? Well, if he saved her life, yeah, maybe.
Well, and that was the whole thing.
You guys made that work.
Yeah, and that was really the design of the plot. Was we were like, okay, how do we see? And we weren't actually, when we started, convinced that by the end they would be a couple. It was a 50-50 shot. Like, either it works and they're a couple, or he's gonna live a life of hookers and call it good. And so we were also surprised.
Well, and
we did
Sam
a
is
lot
based off a couple of people that I know, and I, as wonderfully above it all and tolerant as they are, I really didn't think they'd stick around with Cruiser, and yet none of it bothers her. What he says, it's what he does, and she kind of gets in an innate level that he respects her even if he can't say it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, and he's very much more about his actions.
That's the only thing that makes sense with him. I'm sorry. She said at an innate level, he knows it but can't say it, if that makes sense. And I said, that's the only way it would make sense with him.
Because his mouth just runs and just runs and runs, and she's just like, whatever.
Well, and that's the thing with him, is that you have to ignore pretty much 90% of what he says and look at what he does, because they don't line up, like, at all most of the time.
He is the least sexist you will ever meet. like she's clearly an idiot, but it's not because she's a woman, it's because she's not him. Meanwhile, she's legions above him, and he can't see it, and she doesn't care.
Yeah, and that's the thing about her that you guys bring out really well, is that she has got her own, in psychology, they would say she's got an inner locus of control. She doesn't let the environment really affect her the way other people do. And she has an interior locus of control, and that shines through the whole way. It's maybe her best quality,
and one that Cruiser completely does not appreciate, but she just and it's how she got the job. She grew up in
and it's
Saturday
what
Night
keeps
Live
Cruiser in
24/7.
the game, because
Yeah.
she is that way.
Yeah. Well, and he
She
completely doesn't get
grow
her,
up.
so there's automatically a level of intrigue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
She's not like the other women who just smack him in the face and then stomp off.
He expects that.
He really does. This is the part where you hit me? Oh, you didn't hit me.
Well, now I'm
What do you
confused.
mean I'm looking at your butt? Well, why would you look at it? Why aren't you mad? Why would I be mad? I work out. Poor Cruiser. Not a chance.
No.
One comment they made at the end of the second paragraph. It says, plus knowing why will up the stakes for both Cruiser and his team, which will add more tension to an already intense scene. It could be that if you threw a little bit more about why not specifically why Cruiser's there, but why the team is there. Just maybe a sentence about we can't allow these weapons to fall in someone else's hands. Something in there, just one sentence. I don't think it. I wouldn't go even 4 sentences.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think that would make it a little more clear. Although it was pretty clear to me that something going on with weapons research was happening, and Cruiser's probably the good guy, and the other guys are the bad guys. But maybe a little bit more.
Cruiser's a good guy by a variable factors of good, by degrees of good. But yeah, I think
when he tried to save her, that really cinched it.
That's where she came down with, in a few scenes later where she's like, she'd rather have the guy with the weapon of hate in front of her than behind her. Yeah. And when she says, I'm not 100% sure if this is if you're saving me or if it's a really polite kidnapping. But either way, I'm going to go with this because the other choice was get shot and killed by the other people. And I'm not done with that. In her very Sam way of doing things. Did I freeze again?
No,
you didn't.
Not.
No, we're listening.
I was looking. I was looking at my printed out copy
of doing it. I was thinking about the pacing, and the comment bothers me more and more as time goes on. Now, Tiffany, I wanted to ask you, because you've read more action novels. Is it really a problem? Do you see that in books that you read, where they have a fast and furious action, and then we have a respite for a while?
Yeah, I do. So I don't necessarily think that it's a huge problem. You have to, at the end of things, like, you have to get into the character motivation. You have to get into, like, the plot. And that comes from information getting tossed in there. I think we had, 3, maybe 4 paragraphs I could count if I really wanted to, but I won't currently. But it was minimal amount, and it was all very pertinent stuff that fed into things. So I don't necessarily think that it's a big problem. It is an info dump. It is, but it was minimal enough that I didn't have a problem with it. So yeah. I was aware that it is an info dump. But pacing wise, I didn't really think that it was a holdup. And you kind of need that breathing room. You open with this giant chaotic scene, and you're left wondering, who is Cruiser? What is he intending to do with these weapons? What is the organization that he works for? Why are these weapons so important? What's he going to do with Sam? Like, you wind up with a bunch of questions, which you should have. and then you take a breath,
Right.
and then you start getting some information.
How much further will I read to find out the answers? And I
Right.
thought you gave them to me in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder if they would have said it if you would have had Emery and I forgot his name.
Burke.
The Burke, yes, Burke. If you would have had Emily and Burke walking down a hallway as they're on their way to the Situation Room.
Yeah. Well, and that was
it's
something that I brought up, is we could have them walking and doing something instead of just sitting.
That is so unlike them, and that's where I'm cool with taking out at least a paragraph or two of information that can be dispersed later and leaving the pertinent information. But it's not like Emery is going to go play tennis with this guy or go
Yeah.
very far with him, because she is paranoid as all fuck.
And it's information that should be exchanged in a secure room.
Exactly. She's not going to talk about this anywhere where anyone could be listening. That room has, EMP blocking. It has, soundproofing. It has you can't satellite proofing. This is not stuff that she's going to divulge anywhere, because that's how Emery is with her secrets. And you can kind of see if she gives them out.
Really, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on EMP blocking. Is that really a thing? Oh, she froze.
Yeah, we're frozen.
That's convenient. Is EMP blocking the thing? Do you know?
I don't know.
I thought that was like somebody lets off like an electromagnetic pulse.
You can.
Is there a thing that can block that?
No.
Yes.
Down.
Yeah, there is. The one company my dad worked for, first of all, the one building was not on any map you would ever find. And like a 5-story building only had 2 windows, and the windows were covered with tinting, and within the tinting there was a magnetic stripping to prevent any type of electronic espionage, because they had a government contract.
So it blocks signals.
Yeah, like, because you could have the little thing where you point basically the big ear and listen. It would completely fucking block it, and it would block any type of direct electronic attack through the very limited windows. Yeah, it was a.
I kind of wonder if in the Army, my camouflage uniform, they used to say it has a radar scattering technology. And I still kind of felt like I bet I still show up on enemy radar.
I know some dude who was in the first Gulf War, who was we worked sonar and satellite, and he was like, I don't know what sort of shit we got, but I would look out and see planes and they're not on my radar. And then I'd see all sorts of planes on the radar and there's nothing there. And I don't know what we're doing. So let it go.
That I like that story.
But that's the sort of thing like Emery absolutely would be aware of, because it's life or death for her every time she's talking information. She's very much like a dragon hoarding that, and to parcel that out, I don't see her like moving or being distracted in any way. And you hopefully get that kind of sense when she's like, she tells Burke something he doesn't know, and she's aware he doesn't know, and she's like, but no, she would not say this in the open anywhere. Okay, if you could have the get smart code silence, she would do that.
Yeah.
So I do think that one of the comments that they made in the long critique was to be careful about overcorrecting. And I think that is probably a very clear indicator that things are really close. And even if we do address some of the issues that they pointed out, to not overdo it. You know,
I,
it's
I I agree, because they say everything at once.
uh-huh.
They say while it's great to have pacing, uh settle it, it wouldn't hurt to settle down a little bit, but don't settle down, don't slow it down too much.
Right.
uh uh Tell us more, but don't give us an info dump. Don't spend 3 whole paragraphs. What? uh,
Yeah.
uh, to me, an info dump is 10 pages. That's an info dump.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, no matter what you wind up doing, you have to get to know the characters and their backstories. There's no other way to do a backstory unless it's information that's not action or dialogue. So it's going to be, it's just like the amount and how it's doled out. So
Yeah, and especially considering this is actually taking place mid-series.
well, and I think the other thing too is opening with an action scene, you wind up, I found a highlighter. I figured you'd like to know.
They're the cheap ones. They're dead to me. They're not gel highlighters. I don't want to see them.
They you don't have the emotional attachment. So
Right.
you don't get all of the emotional like threat for the reader of losing Cruiser, or who cares if he dies, we don't actually know him. He might actually be the bad guy. Which for us is not a problem because it's not too far into it that we wind up with more action scenes. Like there's action scenes pretty heavily throughout the entire book. So, I don't think that's an issue. I do think that kind of skews things in the direction that you do have to slow down and get that information and develop that kind of emotional attachment into things. So,
Yeah, I think
Well,
literally it's taking out maybe a paragraph and then tightening a few things up.
I get that sense too, that it's only tightening things up.
yeah.
And
Yeah, but then it's doing it for the rest of the book, so it's editing until I die. Forever. Amen.
that's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah, I'm born in that no money. My husband told me he met Isaac Asimov, which I can't believe I've been with this man 30 years and did not know he met Isaac Asimov. And
Yeah, that
Isaac
seems like that
Asimov,
would come up earlier, like on the
you would
first
think,
5
right?
dates or so.
Yeah, I would think that would have been at least in the first year, let alone 30 years into it. By the way, when I saw Isaac Asimov, I'm like, wait, what? Like the actual Isaac Asimov? Like, he's like, yeah, he talked about how much he hated editing, how it was the bane of his existence, and how he would do it once and give it off to his editor. But I'm kind of thinking he probably didn't do that when he was just starting out. He probably had to edit a little more, get an editor to dump it off onto.
Yeah, well, and probably because Troubled Waters is, we had more problems with our edit initially.
Which one?
Huh?
The first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one?
What are you talking about?
How many times we've edited Troubled Waters?
Yes, and we've learned.
4 times.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have we?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we have. And now we're editing it this 4th time so we can give it to an editor and edit it a 5th time.
But I think Devil, it will be a lot smoother.
I think part of our problem here is we've got some good feedback here, but in general, when you submit to agents, they don't give you good feedback. They give you the form, and I think part of that is we have this November is novel writing month.
Yes.
And so people just pump out this garbage in a month that they worked really hard on.
Mm-hmm.
But trust me, my writing skills depreciate considerably.
In a
If I
time
have
crunch.
to write 3,000 words a day versus 300 words a day. So then these people get through with their submissions. I'm sure some of them are really great, but I bet most are not. And so then the editors have this massive material to go through, or not the editors, the agents.
Massive crap.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of it's. I'm not saying it to be politically correct. I've seen people that can just write perfectly the first time, and I'm sure there's some great ones in there, but mostly it probably isn't great.
Well, and did the pillows collapse?
No, I have to move. It's overheating. Also, it's starting to run out of battery and I can't find my charger.
Troubled Waters actually started out as our one and only. This is a great view of you.
Thank you. It's my
Our one and only nano participation. So
That's a good face.
I call this my orthodoxy.
I knew you were saying something, Tiffany, but I heard none of it because of
I was distracting you.
Nora jumped in bed and
There's my
made a
best
face.
view. This one. There we go.
No, Troubled Waters was we did that for Nano. The one and only time we've done Nano.
Wait, what is Nano?
Nano is the
November.
National Novel
okay.
Writing Month. So
Oh.
yeah, so we busted through it, and I mean we've learned a lot. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
our
because we edited it for a fucking time. Not that I'm bitter.
I don't know that 4 is the correct number.
Yeah, it is. I can go through with you exactly where and when, but it's the right fucking number, girl. Or to edit it this time.
Yeah, so do you want to give up on it?
Part of me does, but I don't know how to quit. So
Yeah. No, it's a good story and it deserves to be told.
Glamour shot.
there's that. There we go. It's not a scam.
Yeah. We got the
This is why we
nostril
can't have
cam.
nice things. Huh? I'm a boomer. This is how I use my camera. No, crap. But like, yeah, the story deserves to be told and deserves to be told well, but fuck, I really wish we were better at it the first 4 times. I'm really getting tired of it.
Yeah, but I
really
mean,
want to tell other stories.
all that being said, we wouldn't be where we are skill-wise without having gone through the other 4 edits, because we thought those were great too.
Well, we could write another story. Maybe that would help.
We are.
Just saying. Your lips say yes, 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 but the paper says no, no, no.
Oh, we started
hang
on
on.
Devil. We started getting back into Devil.
Anyway,
Is that the full title, Devil?
No, it's Devil and Sirocco.
Oh yeah. You told me that. Sirocco.
Yeah.
I still don't know what Sirocco is, but
yeah,
It's a
that's
trade
cool.
wind. I think it's a fairly devastating trade wind.
Right, Don. Come on, Don. Right, bye.
Nora's the one that actually came up with Sirocco. So.
well, it sounds exotic when you say it that way, Devil and Sirocco.
We've actually, in the past few weeks, had some pretty good discussions on how to develop Devil a little bit more and things that we wanted to add in and some subplots with Burke and Cruiser's interplay, and then how much we really want to share with the reader on Cruiser's level of involvement with Sirocco versus the team's knowledge of it. So,
And how much we really want people to know about Burke.
yeah.
He's really not supposed to be likable.
No, he's supposed to be very untrustworthy.
Cruiser?
Burke.
Who?
Burke?
Okay. You know my vote with Cruiser is to put him in rampage mode. Kill Sam.
Literally.
And then let him go.
That's not a bad way to go with him, really.
Kill Sam and then let Cruiser just get rid of Sam and let Cruiser just go.
Let somebody kill Sam and then let Cruiser go into rampage mode. Only he's got the wrong he thinks it's the wrong people.
Honestly, Cruiser is like Cruiser and Wolf, and in a way Dex are probably like have the lamest rampage mode. The one who would kill everything without batting an eye would be Emery and Fletcher. Possibly Chance, but Fletcher in a heartbeat with no remorse whatsoever.
Yeah, Emery might try to find the nuclear codes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, she would, and hold them hostage and then fucking kill everything just to make you pay. She might take a few fingers and chop them off and mail them back to you in a flat rate envelope.
Yeah.
Not first class.
Not the flat rate.
There may have been
That's
there
too
may
much.
have been a scene written about that.
May have mailed them back in a flat rate envelope because she doesn't get first class postage.
That is an actual scene in a different book.
Yeah, Emery is don't mess with what's hers, but
No,
Fletcher I think is more scary there.
I think any of them, if the right motivation happens, then they could become very, very vigilante and hit that rampage mode. It's just that right motivation, and I do think killing Sam would do it. But the problem with that is then we have to kill Sam.
And we do like Sam. We have toyed with that idea a few
We
times,
have.
not gonna lie.
Although we toyed with that idea in a much more dramatic fashion than rampage mode.
Yeah, I don't really know if we want Cruiser to rampage, because pretty much the only way to stop him is to kill him, because he's
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah. I mean, you kill him, and then no matter what you do, the rest of the team is done too.
You see, but when Cruiser goes into rampage mode, he doesn't. I doubt he doesn't care about people.
No.
That's one thing about Cruiser being a medic. It reminds me of this guy I knew that got accepted to the. I know this won't make sense to you, Nora. The Clark College Nursing School, which is pretty competitive to get into, and he got accepted, and I begged him not to go in. I was hoping he wouldn't get accepted, but when he did, I begged him not to go in because he doesn't care about the patients. He doesn't care at all about them.
a little too detached.
And Cruiser kind of strikes me as that way too. Like, okay, I'll save you because it's my duty.
Well, yeah, but the further you get into Cruiser, the more you find that it's a very deeply rooted sense of duty to protect those that are weaker and in a position where they can be taken advantage of.
It's been a long time since I read about Cruiser.
Yeah. And we don't really cover it too much in Troubled Waters. So that's more of an overarching kind of character development deal.
Yeah.
So you can only cover so much in one book, as you know.
So, and I'm interested to see more about Burke. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, so Devil, we're going back and as we're filling out the chapters, kind of developing more of his backstory and how that all feeds into things. And it's getting a little more interesting than we had initially had planned. So
Oh, good. That sounds exciting.
yeah. Yeah, but the overall, like, we want to keep it so that Burke is really kind of brings the sense of, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Like, we don't really know. So it's like, how much does the reader really get to know? And then by the end, it should be pretty clear that like, he's had to make a lot of tough decisions in a position of a lot of power. But ultimately, he is a guy that you would rather have on your side. And then we kill him off.
Yeah, he seems like a good one to kill off.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know if Nora's gonna make it back.
She said her power was going down.
Oh, that's right. So, but yeah, were there any other comments that you had thoughts on with that?
Going through the benchmarks, there was some things I thought they gigged you on that weren't fair. Let me go through that. Scenes are fleshed out and are not narratives. Yeah, so under Scenecraft Benchmarks, it says scenes are fleshed out and are not narrative summaries or a list of sequential events. They said somewhat hit. I didn't think that was fair. I thought you got it. Changes in settings are intentionally staged and transitions between each are clear. And it says somewhat hit. I don't know what they wanted there. I don't get it.
Yeah, I would agree. Because the setting it's two scenes, and they're very, very different settings. Like, there's no confusing them. Different characters, different settings completely. So, they're very intentionally staged. I think that it's probably coming down to them wanting more of a setting, but I also think that the setting was pretty clear in both of them. So, in
Yeah, I don't
Cruisers
know.
was intentionally like, I don't want to bring things down with too much detail because it's supposed to be fast-paced and chaotic.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, like, it's Cruiser's point of view. He's not detail oriented. Like, he's not going to look at the art on the walls. He's not going to notice all these finer details and things.
Right.
So
right.
like,
Bravo. Good point.
Yeah.
It's from Cruiser's point of view.
And it's a very deep third person point of view. Like, when we have a scene where we're like, hey, we need all of these details picked up on because it really is important to the story, they're in either Chance's point of view or Emery's point of view, because they're very observant on everything. So it's not, we don't do that with Cruiser's point of view because he just doesn't care enough.
Looking at the grammar benchmarks, there's one that I want to talk about. It says minimal typos, spelling errors, or misused or mistaken words. Benchmark fully hit.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's
really
awesome.
Is. Yeah.
I'd almost rather get that one and get somewhat hit for everything else all the way through.
Well, yeah, because that's been the one that has been the huge struggle, is the grammar and Nora can't get back in.
And the passive verbs.
Yeah,
benchmark fully hit.
The grammar and the passive stuff, like that, those two things have been like the bane of our existence.
Yeah, that's when we talk about these things, that is 80% of what we talk about.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing. That's the big difference between this version and what we're cleaning up now in the last edit, is that we had no idea about like passive voice and stuff. And it was actually Nora's sister-in-law that pointed out you need to get rid of passive voice. And I was like, what? And so, and then, so I think it speaks volumes to the fact that we figured that out. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I would rather have a benchmark fully hit on that than any number of the other ones.
Yeah, yeah. So really, that is very positive. Uh, is verb tenses match and are consistent throughout. Uh, I'd have to go back and look and see where she made corrections.
I think
But
there was like one, maybe two.
rules are broken only for conscious effect. That should be fully hit. Yeah. Oh well. Because when you broke the rules, you did it for a reason. And you did at times.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I kind of have to wonder if it feeds into the author understands grammar and punctuation, which is also somewhat hit because we did miss a couple commas, and there was at least one like verb tense thing that didn't match whatever it's supposed to match.
Yeah, when looking at if I understood the correction, like I said, there was more than just that Girl Scout thing where they made
Yeah.
a correction and I didn't understand what the correction was.
Mm-hmm.
But of the ones that I did understand, they were mostly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to wonder if we had hit the grammar and punctuation one a little bit better, if it would have come off as though the ones that we broke were intentional 100% of the time, because we did break some intentionally, but if we got rid of the ones that we didn't break intentionally, then I would guess that would get fixed.
Then it'd be more clear that that this was on purpose.
Yeah.
But no, they know that you know what you're doing. They said your grammar and punctuation was fully hit. But yeah, so it was worth the money, which the money was like $200, you said?
No, it was like, I think the entry fee was like $35, and then if you wanted the additional critique, it was like an extra either 30 or 35, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty minimal considering like the level of feedback we got. I kind of feel like it was a well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. If I wrote an action thing, I would enter that contest.
Well, and they have other genres. Like you could do, I think they've got fantasy. It's a bunch of different genres that they take. So, but I think they take the first 200 entrants.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if I won't be, it would be 2023 that I might be ready. It's only the first two chapters though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or first two scenes.
It's the first, no, it's the first 4,000 words.
First 4,000 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I may be ready for it next year.
I think that it's well worth it, and it is suggested that you have your book completely done, but if you don't, like, what are they gonna do? They'll still give you your feedback because they don't know that.
I kind of feel like I should send you $10 because of what I learned from the from your feedback. Well, because I went back and I combined two chapters that were massive info dumps, and I took I took what was 30 pages and made it like 15. Because I was looking to cut away information, and it is better.
Yeah.
I liked what she said about cutting the backstory with Wolf out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to look at it again before I said that strongly,
Yeah.
But it
Well,
sounds like a good step.
and I think you can take that out and you can input that into other scenes pretty easily. So, you know, I think there's like all the information that's there is pertinent to the story and should be told throughout the book. But necessarily putting it all together as the first few opening paragraphs on chapter
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, you could easily have Chance ask her a question about Wolf and some of it come up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, I think it's pretty good. I would even without doing a whole lot of changes, I think I would be fairly confident about submitting it to agents to see what they think. I mean, there's no point not making the changes, but I do think we did well enough that we could fairly
Yeah, I don't
confidently do
think
that.
I mean you certainly don't have anything to be embarrassed about.
No.
Um,
No, and I will say I disagree with their under the character's journey benchmarks that the protagonist's struggles, goals, and misbeliefs are intertwined with the plot. Oh, that's for the summary. Ooh, I just
for
went
the
way out of focus.
synopsis.
Yeah, that's for the
Yeah,
synopsis.
yeah,
Which
I got nailed on that too. Yeah.
oh
Uh,
yeah, what'd you get
no, I,
nailed on?
I I thought they were talking about what was there, and I thought, and then I saw it was synopsis.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So in the synopsis, I'm not surprised by, because I really did just do a summary of the plot and not the character journey that they go on individually. So, but you only I think
Well,
had like 250 words, which is really difficult.
I think one thing is we're under the impression that this story in the first couple of scenes that they read uh, that this story is about Cruiser
Mhm.
and it's about the team
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if they ever got that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I don't necessarily know how they would have with the information that was given to them.
and maybe we need we it's I've got nothing to do with it. But maybe it's worth thinking about. I'll just throw it out there and see if you like it. Making it more about one guy than anyone else. Uh, um, Making it more about Cruiser or more about um, it would have to be Cruiser. Uh,
Yeah.
it would have to be more about Cruiser than anyone else. Like uh, I don't think as it stands right now, I think he's about 50% of the point of view.
Mhm.
Uh, and maybe that needs to get jumped up to like 70. That's worth thinking about. That would be
Yeah.
hard to do. That would
It
be
would
maybe too hard to do.
it would mean most likely like scrubbing out some plot lines with because you would have to remove. I don't even know how we would do that.
Yeah, it would be. It might be too hard to do.
It
Uh,
would be easier if we like added scenes, but then you
how long are action books normally?
I think it's a minimum of 75,000 and oh, I used to know this off the top of my head. But we're on the shorter side cuz I think the draft that you read was like 73,000, which is a couple thousand words short of the minimum cutoff. But as we go through and edit things, I've noticed that it's growing a little bit. So I would
Mm.
imagine that it's gonna hit somewhere between 75 and 80,000.
Was it 265 pages? Was that
No,
right?
no, I can pull that up. Let me. It is slowly loading. So it's 122 pages, and it's currently sitting at 43,680 words.
43,000?
73,680 words.
Oh, 73,000. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the high end it can be? 100,000, did you say?
I'm Googling that. I think the cutoff is 75.
Okay, I'm looking at something that says word count by genre. And
Crime, mystery, thrillers, and horror. What does this say? So, this one says 70 to 90,000.
$70,000 to $90,000. Okay.
We might actually be looking at the same website.
So, and there's something I wanted to say. There's a scene in a movie. I think it was called Atomic Blonde. Did you see that movie?
Nope. I haven't even heard of that.
Well, they have an info dump in like the first scene or the second scene. I'm gonna go watch that movie again. It's a spy movie with Charlize Theron. She's kind of an action hero in this movie.
Uh-huh.
Not kind of, she is an action hero in this movie. And I liked it, but from what I can tell, most other people don't. But I liked it. I really did. It has John Goodman with not a cameo, but a small role.
Mm-hmm.
It took place in Berlin as the wall was falling. But she had to give a briefing. And I'm going to look at the scene again. I'm going to read Emery's scene again and then look at that movie scene again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might recommend that you watch it. Because I think they did a good job of giving lots of information. But there was like a game being played in between while they were doing that, they were also playing games with each other.
Huh. Well,
like,
and
I do... there's somebody watching behind the glass. Don't you think I know that?
Right.
Don't you think I know that you're not being completely upfront about what you've seen?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, and I do think that part of what feeds into the info dump on things is the fact that they're just sitting there having a conversation and they're not actively doing anything. But like Nora's point was that is the setting that they would meet in. So that's hard to get away from.
So that's why I was saying if they have these games going on the
Mm-hmm.
side, it doesn't seem like an info dump, because there was like a 2 or 3 way game being played. They introduced a CIA operative, but she's MI6.
Okay.
So she doesn't want to talk in front of them. But there's also people watching behind a glass window. And so even though they're really dumping information, there's other things going on too.
Right.
And perhaps that makes the whole thing more palatable. But like I told Nora, it was palatable to me anyway.
Well, Well,
Uh,
and even being very aware that this is a lot of sitting, and I actually had made some editing notes about, hey, can we, making this a little more active, that we didn't wind up doing. It wasn't boring to the point where I felt like it was overwhelming and you would just like skip over it. Because I've
no,
done that with books in the past where it's like this is just going on and I just want to get to the important stuff, the entertaining stuff, and I never once felt like that. So I
yeah,
don't think that it was unpalatable. Could it be improved? Probably. But, could it be worse? Most definitely.
yeah, it was pretty good as it was. Um, yeah, that's all I can, because she wants to stay in the room, and that's that's uh that's the only way I can think of making that room
Hmm.
more interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, is the way they did it in that movie. So anyway, it was just something to throw out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think it deserves thought put into it on if it would work or not.
because
So,
it's one of the first scenes, and as you know, those scenes are very important. The
yeah.
first the first few scenes
Mhm.
uh can make or break the whole thing.
Yeah.